The start of episode 1 again. Um, hopefully
but
this
with
time it
better
goes.
audio.
Yeah, hopefully it has better audio and everything kind of goes a little smoothly, like more smoothly, or just in general, kind of the way we hope that it will go. So yeah, without further ado, this is episode 1 of whatever you want to call this. I don't even know. Like it's not like
Yeah,
a podcast or
we
anything, but like kind of just two guys
we
broing
gotta.
around playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine we're here for the same reason that anyone who watches your stream or will watch the recorded video or whatever is here is because we love this game, Elder Scrolls Legends. And
Yeah,
even
yeah,
though
that's a
it has been
good way to put it.
on maintenance mode for God knows how long and not actively being developed anymore by Bethesda, there's still thousands of people that play this game and make videos about it and stream it and participate in tournaments for it and in-game events because it's that good of a game.
Yeah, I'm actually
The game will.
surprised that it hasn't been taken down yet.
That will be a very dark day for all of
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
May it never happen, but don't get your hopes up either.
yeah. It's like at what point, like, realistically, it's like how many more years do you give it? Just kind of rip
I
that
don't know.
band-aid
I don't know
off.
if I would have. I don't know if I would have given it this many years back when they
Yeah,
announced it.
so it's like it's such a limbo subject. It's so hard to say. Like how much longer does the game even have left?
Well, I imagine it's not an all that big of a use of Bethesda's resources just to keep it on life support like it is. I mean, every now and then a bug pops up and CVH will let someone know and fix it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like I've
Um,
talked to him too, and he was like, "Don't worry, if like when we take it down, he's like, you guys will, everybody will know. There will be a big announcement, and it'll be like ahead of time type deal. It's not going to be like a after the fact kind of thing,
yeah.
like we all thought it was on New Year's. Like, oh fuck, it's all over, guys. And
Man, this is such a great game. It's sad that it didn't get more of a run that we feel like it deserved than it actually did. Although it was a good run, and it's still, as we were trying to make it be a good run with tournaments, and I really enjoy the fact that they're still putting out the alt art cards, and there's a base kind of minimum level of incentive for people to still play the game, which is cool, and it clearly works because there's still, if you check the at the end of the in-game events, like the rankings or whatever, the pages go all the way back into thousands, like of people that still play. So
oh, you mean are you talking about like the standings and the tournaments and stuff, or the gauntlets rather?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, like if the last one I checked was the Black Dragon event when I made the announcements on Facebook and stuff like that, and I was like, hey, everybody, come and fucking get this card. And I checked it, and it was around 2,500 or so, which is a pretty decent amount, like more than I was expecting.
yeah, because there's people that play that don't do the events that are just here to play arena or ladder or
Yeah, exactly.
only only come back for the tournaments or whatever. I think it's incredible the fact that you have people still making YouTube videos, still posting in the subreddit, still playing the game, still playing in tournaments. How
People that
many
are
years
still
after the
like
game's
coming
not
in
even.
like fresh to the game, they're like, hey guys, like new guy, new player here, and it's like, what? Okay, like this is pretty cool. You know, I wouldn't
Yeah,
have
because
expected there to be any new players that like join up. Like people hear that the game is on life support, and they're like, oh, that no future for the game. I'm not gonna play the game
yeah, not
anymore.
worth my time or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's precisely those players among the kind of people who've been around for a while, also who love the game like we do, that we I think wanted to do this series of podcasts or episodes or
yeah.
recordings, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I think there's some, I mean, if not just some of the weird shit that I figure out that I'll probably be showcasing in any given video or with any given deck that I play. Just little tidbits of information I think that we can, kind of offer up and hopefully be useful for the players new and old alike. Little things like, oh, if you use Forces of Destruction and you only have two fucking spaces open, then it's automatically marking as every time, and there's no RNG to it. Like stupid little stuff like that. Like people don't know that, and it's a cool little thing to know because it's like, oh, maybe sometimes you'll have that action in your hand for like I don't know arena or because you got it from like a Tinker speaker or something stupid like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, for sure.
cool little things like that. Hopefully, enough to boost your gameplay, or at least you find it entertaining, and you don't you know, just have it on in the background maybe, and you like to hear the banter. Anyway,
Oh, there's gonna be some witty banter for sure.
so how do you want to do this? You want to go first, or do you want to go and talk about like the event this weekend, or did you want to? Do you have anything you wanted to showcase, or a subject you wanted to talk about?
That was a great question. I know you did mention the event this weekend. I don't know if we want to touch on the tournament from last weekend as well, or maybe a different one, just all about tournaments and whatnot. Um, as far as what do you think of the idea of like playing some matches with the decks that we had for the tournament this last Sunday while we
Yeah,
talk or whatever?
I'd be down for something like that. Um,
Okay.
I kind of changed mine around a little bit, but I mean they're not like so different that I can't play them.
Oh, no,
Basically,
not a problem. It's not like it's, gonna be for a real tournament or anything. The only one I changed was I added the Dwemer back into my battle mage that weren't in there from the old deck.
so when you say like the Dwemer and stuff, did you have like what Dynamo and Steam Constructor? Like, I can't see you having like Mechanical Ally and shit like that too.
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Let me just send you the code so you can see what exactly we're
How
talking
many
about.
neutrals are you running?
How do I'm trying to remember how to paste stuff. There we go. From PC.
Like
I'm running
36?
35 neutrals.
35 is such an ugly number for Allegiance.
For what now?
Well, when you have like a all of one color, it's like the gauntlet this weekend is called the Allegiance Gauntlet. So like your
Oh yeah,
allegiance
mono.
to neutral, I guess, is like 35 out of 50. So it's such an ugly number. I feel like 36 is like the minimum you want to have. But like you see like the warrior Dwemer deck, like the one that Bro runs and a couple of other people
Yeah.
run, like it has
Oh,
a
what's
32
that guy? Dennis?
devil
Yeah,
synod.
there was a couple of seasons he was constantly on that playing it, at the top 5 or
Yeah,
top
and
10 or
his
whatever.
fucking deck has 32 fucking neutrals in it, like out of 50
Insane.
cards.
He
It's like
never missed though. I swear he would never miss on Ally ever.
no,
That
it's
man
just
had some
weird.
good luck in RNG.
Yeah, it's just weird, man. I don't know. I couldn't fucking not
So my
me.
deck is obviously kind of just switching out Sower of Discord for Elfic Conjurer basically, which I think is for my money maybe the best card in the game or one of the best cards in the game, but
It's definitely really good value for what you get, and like Salty's leading into it is ridiculous.
yeah, because
One,
then you can already trade your automaton, and you don't even need a an Atronac in
I
your
find it
graveyard.
interesting that you're not running Onkano in this. More
I
Merrick.
think I probably was, and then ended up cutting him, just because I already had like six cost, and I wanted to keep the deck kind of low curve.
And you're running fucking 3 headhunters, and you have one Orc clan captain. No Dushnika.
But then you've got Morkel Gatekeeper, Garnog, and then the automatons themselves count as orcs as well.
Yeah,
I've
I know,
had
but there's like
different versions
10,
of this deck.
maybe.
Yeah, I've ran two headhunters before. I've ran like
How often
two
does it get
clan
charged?
captains. Well, I made this after the tournament, so I really have not played that many matches since
Yikes.
remaking it.
All right, well, I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see, unless you ban it, which I doubt it. But
No, you can fucking use that. I'll ban your Halalu.
you are the only person to ever ban it, and you are very smart for doing that. I feel like it's a mistake if people don't ban that.
Yeah, I don't know what else you took, but I'm banning the Halalu. Probably took Tribunal too, eh? People probably go to
Yep.
immediately ban the Tribunal.
No, they always ban the one that I bring as ban bait, which is the Guildsworn mid with prophecies and stuff and rage. I
Yeah,
don't
but
even like.
Guildsworn gets a bad rep, I think.
How do you mean?
I just mean like it's low key one of like the most broken decks in the game, really. Like you think about it, like
Right.
all the prophecies that it runs are viable. Like they're all good cards that you could run in any
Yeah.
deck. You know what I
That's
mean?
why I bring it as ban bait, because people see it and they get scared and they ban it, and I don't even feel confident playing it. It's not my style, but I'd rather have them ban that than my Halalu or my
Yeah,
Tribunal or whatever else I bring. So
I bring Nyx, and I assume that everybody's going to ban Nyxox, or they either ban Nyxox or the Battle Mage. Usually the Battle Mage.
What, like mid?
No, crabs.
Oh, okay, so like mine, but with no Dwemer or whatever.
Like yours, but it actually has like an end game and a mid game kind of deal. Yours is like
Okay,
pretty much
okay.
pure aggro, I think.
I'd say mid grow, which is my favorite. Like,
I guess because
fucking,
Alfiq isn't really an aggro card, but still.
it's a beautiful card.
All right, so I brought
Let's do this.
I brought the singleton, like my singleton. I brought fucking Nyxox Assassin, and I brought the Crab Battle Mage, and I also brought the Dagoth that I was just running in the game that you were spectating there.
So Dagoth, Nyxox, Battle Mage, and what was the fourth one?
Telvanni Singleton.
Oh, Singleton. Okay. I guess I'll ban Ox just because I think it'd be fun to play against Singleton.
Okay.
And that Ox is scary. I've lost to it before. Once you get, I mean, it's unstoppable once you get the right pieces.
Yeah, like it's pretty much like you just watch it happen, and there's nothing you can do about it.
That is what I would consider like a high skill deck, which is maybe something we can talk about at some point. Like,
I think it's the hardest deck
like,
to run in the game, and that's why I like playing it. To be honest.
but if you can play it correctly and know how to run it, it's also very powerful.
Yeah, it's like I think it's kind of like it kind of straddles like that whole like practicality versus meme kind of aspect, where it's like on the cusp of like being a meme because like it's so fucking like skill oriented that it doesn't really seem like it's a very like good deck if you don't get the right cards. Like the wins that I get with that deck that are from not getting the combo are the wins that I like getting the most, to be honest with you, like having to piece together.
Satisfying. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like well, the only time I've beaten Thulder with it, I had to beat him by piecing out fucking combos with like Doppelganger and shit like that, and like actually generally outplaying him, which I'm gonna be honest, probably doesn't happen very often.
I think he's got to be the consensus, like,
He's the goat.
top player, the GOAT.
He's the goat.
I mean, when you win, well, I guess he took second against Hackney. I guess he didn't win the Master Series, but I think
No, he
people
did.
would put him as the GOAT.
He won the second one, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, well, this is a horrible starting hand, so hopefully you have something better.
Careful there.
Play a pretty good card, Ward
A
Crafter.
playable card, anyway.
Yeah, I'm always happy to see 2-drops. Doesn't matter which one. So as our viewers can probably tell, we've got Shadow from Clan Azura's Zealots and Aros from the NPO, not for profit organization, who are collaborating on the first, even though we already tried a first one and the audio was messed up, of a series of little discussions, videos, whatever you want to call it, podcasts about Elder Scrolls Legends.
Yeah, kind of like a let's play, really, at the end of the day. Like,
So
likely you'll see fucking really weird stuff from me likely every week. Just the flavor of the week kind of deal, or flavor of the month. Plan on doing this every week, probably on Thursday, like so that we drop it before the gauntlet. Because I'd like to do a section where we actually talk about the upcoming event and
really good
decks
idea.
that you'll
I like
probably
that.
see. And kind
We
of
can
do
get people
kind of
ready
like a
for the
newsletter.
weekend event.
Keep your distance.
So these are decks that we're playing right now that we brought to the NPO tournament on Sunday. We can do a whole episode probably sometime on tournaments and what kind of decks people typically bring to tournaments and kind of how to prepare for them and stuff. I can't recommend enough to anyone that wants to improve at the game. If you ever see that someone's holding a tournament, just do yourself a favor, go ahead and enter and play and see what it's like. It can be kind of intimidating, but it's very fun, very good way to learn and to play against really good players that will make you better as a player. And for me, it's kind of gotten addicting. Like, I can't wait till the next one. It's so fun to be going up against good players, and especially if someone's casting it and it's kind of like a well-produced dealio, like the one on last Sunday. I mean, how
Yeah, that
cool
was
is it to
actually
go
is
back?
we lucked out, man. We lucked out being able to get Shord to do it for us because like he kind of popped on the day before, and I was like, "Hey, man,
My paws
uh,
are
he-
quicker
what's
than
going
an
on?" And he was
arrow.
like, "Oh, I'm just kind of doing this and that." And I was like, "You wouldn't happen to be free tomorrow, would you?" And it just all worked out that he was free, and Brave was already going to do it anyway, and they've done casting together in the past, so it just worked out perfectly. Like couldn't have happened any better.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to watch the rebroadcast. Had not been familiar with their work, and I was very impressed. I mean, that they did a really fantastic job. I can tell they've done it before and done it, with each other before and stuff like that. So massive shout out to Brave Carriet Friends and to Schward for the job they did. If anyone wants to check out that tournament that happened on Sunday, it's on YouTube on his YouTube channel. So go
I'll
check it
put a
out.
link.
Give it
I'll
a
put a link in the description for that for
Too
sure.
slow.
It's good stuff.
Too slow.
All right, what do I want to do here? So Aros had the ring, and
Yeah,
he didn't play on his first turn.
one thing I'll bring up here too is like one of the rules for the tournament that I've been doing for a long time now is alternating the ring. So if I get the ring in game one, then he's going to get the ring in game two, and then game 3 and 4. It all kind of works that way. Um, I think it's just fair because that way you're not like, okay, I didn't even get the ring once in the tournament, and like, you know, it, it, it doesn't feel like it's all odds against you kind of deal. You know what I mean? Where
I
like,
really like that rule. I think
yeah,
it makes it
it's
very
it's
fair.
kind of annoying having to restart and like you see all your good hands that you're like not gonna get to play or whatever. But like at the end of the day, it's like, it's a small price to pay, really, in the grand scheme of things. I think.
For those who may not be familiar with Dagoth, this Hand of Dagoth creature over here in the field lane, it's a very strong card. It's a staple of pretty much every Dagoth deck I've ever seen, and it's something you have to account for. I've literally included silence cards in my decks solely because of cards like that can really ruin the game plan if you're trying to be the aggressor and they can gain 5 health back in addition to killing one of your creatures and stuff
Well, the
like that.
hurting thing about Hand of Dagoth is it comes down with a ward, and it's not even just in control decks. Like it's in aggro, it's in everything. Like, any Dagoth deck really has this card times 3.
And I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's one of those cards that always seems to be in their hand, like Ice Storm for Telvanni, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's probably anything actually in the coding of the game that makes that more likely, but it just certainly feels like it.
Yeah, it's like Brahmin on 9. Brahmin on 9.
Right?
If you're fighting against Scout, Brahmin on 9 is like almost guaranteed to be a thing.
Death, Taxes, and Brahmin on turn 9, right? Kratos
Death,
Thrust Giant,
Taxes, and
that's a
Brahmin on 9.
fantastic
Yeah.
card.
Too slow.
Should put that on my tombstone.
All power flows from the light of the three.
Okay, don't hate me.
Let me guess. Oh, I thought it was another Kratos Thrust, but I mean for the same thing.
Pretty much.
Okay, don't hate me.
That's fine.
Makes it a little bit less of a bad situation for me, but you definitely kind of just took back momentum and control of the board.
Yeah, that was definitely a
One thing
tempo
I
swing.
did, I'm glad you mentioned that word. That's something I didn't have on my list of like terms that we could kind of define or talk about, but I added it today, earlier today.
Tempo?
What does the word tempo mean to you? And
I'll try to draw
what is it? Why should you think about it or try to get it? And what does it do for you and stuff like that? Is something I thought about. We can
Well,
talk about
tempo is
eventually.
basically like, if you boil it down, it's basically your presence on the board, which is kind of how you win the game. Well, with traditional regular decks,
Right.
you win the game by
Tempo,
having board
yeah.
control, right? So my tempo right now, in terms of tempo, I still have tempo on you because I have a stronger creature and I can trade into you and kill you.
And it's your turn, yeah.
Yeah, and it's my turn. So also having this ward crafter kind of makes it even more of a kick in the teeth for you.
Well,
So
it's a
basically,
perfect
having control of
example.
the field lane in general is kind of like the
Yes.
main point of like it's like the main thing you want because you get priority trades. So if he plays a card, then I can be like, okay, I want to maybe buff my ward crafter and crash that into the card instead of having to trade my Abner or whatever. Like I get to make that decision, I get to make that call. So obviously, having the field lane is something that you want to have just in general, and it's something that you'll see players fight for. Um, Unless you're playing a deck like
Yes.
Prophecy Battle Mage, for instance, that doesn't really care about anything because they're just going face and all face all day because they just want to win the game as fast as they possibly can and they don't care about, cards being down unless they have like Drain or Guard.
Either
But
that or,
traditionally, you want to have field control.
I mean, you could also be going against a Telvanni or an Ebonheart that's going to have a lot of lethal creatures, and so, I mean, you're generally going to be playing cards that you want to survive theoretically, and so if you know they're probably going to put out like
Viper.
a danger noodle, yeah, a Viper, and just you're not going to play some big statted creature in field lane and just let them efficiently remove it for less magicka than you paid to play it out there when you could put it in Shadowland. But most of the time, yes, there's a lot of kind of like aggro and mid type of decks that want to fight for and get control of the field lane. Then you can force your opponent to go into the shadow lane if they're willing to give you control of the field. And then if they start going shadow lane, you can put your creatures in there after they do, and then they won't have cover the next turn, and you will have had it the turn before, so they can't target you, and then you can still dictate.
You still
race rate
basically have the
tempo.
priority for trading, is what you're saying.
Yep, absolutely. Which is a big
So-
part of the interactivity of this game.
So essentially, like, just kind of touching on like what I did first turn, it's like I didn't even hesitate to go to the shadow lane, and the reason why is because fighting for something when you have the low, like when you basically it's a fight that you can get into. If you don't have to get into a fight and for a lane, then honestly it's best to just take the path of least resistance and work out a plan for something in the future rather than throw cards away and constantly fight for a lane where you are just throwing cards to get traded and basically you're just throwing tempo away that you could be gaining, right? Because by going into the shadow lane, it's forcing him to have to come after me. So if you force him to have to come after you and chase you, then you're kind of playing the game of like cat and mouse, right? And
I'm
you
glad
know,
you
obviously-
mentioned that too, because one mistake that I feel like some newer players can make, especially if they're playing a deck that they didn't make, that they got from someone else, which is a good deck, you always want to know why you're making whatever play that you're making, not just make plays for no reason or because you think it's like the kind of play that someone would make or that you should make or whatever. Always have a plan for why you're doing what you're doing. Man, look at this board and this difference in health and everything. This is not great for myself. This looks like a loss, but let's see what we can do here.
yeah, I hope you grab something good with Loneth because
I feel like I was ahead at first, and then you definitely switched tempo on me. And
it was the Abner turn that really did ya.
And it could be considered a misplay by me to have played those creatures in the field lane and kind of ask for them to get either raged or like.
Well, the thing
another-
about that
or, I
is
mean,
like
another, Cradle Crush or whatever.
that's another thing is that when you have creatures in one
I
lane,
will end.
oftentimes, unless you're against a certain deck, like he was saying earlier, Talvani is a good example. Ebenheart, not so much a good example because they have all those pings that it doesn't really matter where your card is. You're still gonna get killed. But for the most part,
Face me,
you want to split your damage up as much as you can. So like if you have 10 damage in the field lane and you have like 5 more or 6 more damage to put on the board, you don't need to put it all into the field lane because if they have something like Dawn's Wrath or Unstoppable Rage or even just like something like
Immolating
Firestorm
Blast.
or Cradle Crush or whatever. Immolating Blast is another good example, or Trial of Flame.
There's
Some
nothing
people run
worse
that.
than having 4 creatures in the field lane and losing 3 when you could have split them 2-2 or whatever and potentially won the game, but it cost you because you just wanted to go all field or whatever.
Yeah,
But it's
so
not
like
easy to know. I mean, it's kind of a nuance to it.
I find that like not stacking a lane is something that I still kind of catch myself doing by accident sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But
Because
it's like,
it's a
it's always an
fundamentally good
afterthought too,
thing.
because you'll play your turnout and
Right.
then you'll do it, and then you'll be like, oh shit, he probably has this, and then it's like you just watch
Mm-hmm.
them play it, and you're like, fuck.
And that is a good skill that like players, even longtime players, but I mean especially newer players can work on to improve their game to get to whatever level that they want to get to, whether that's just
Yeah,
finishing higher on the ladder or, not embarrassing themselves in a tournament or trying to make the leaderboard in an event in game or whatever, is predicting what cards your opponent is going to have in hand based on the deck that they are playing or the deck archetype that's revealed by the first cards that they play out. You're not always going to know, like in a tournament where you get to see their whole deck, but you can kind of get a sense the more you play this game, which I recommend people who want to improve to just play a lot and get that game sense where if you've seen one Telvanni control deck, you've kind of seen them all within a certain aspect, so you can kind of expect certain cards to be in their hand, whether it's Ice Storm or Blackhand Messenger or
and
like
for
turn
the
9.
most
You
part,
know what
you'll
they
be
have on turn 9.
yeah, you'll be able to tell for the most part what after seeing like a couple of control decks, like he was saying, you'll be able to tell like, okay, so this card is very out of place and very niche and nuanced, and okay, so therefore this has to be like a singleton or like Unite the Houses or something like just out of left field like that. So like if, another like a card that will tip it off for me like 9 times out of 10, if I see City Guard and Telvanni, it's fucking Unite or it's a singleton because you're so limited in the prophecies that you get to choose that are actually decent
And just
for
2-drops. Yeah.
this particular deck. And 2-drops in general are something that you want to have an abundance of, especially with Singleton, because you need to have cards on the board in order to win, right? Like we were talking about earlier, tempo in general. You want to have tempo, right? And 2/3 is a good stats for a 2-drop creature.
Absolutely.
In
That's
general,
kind of like the minimum for a competitive deck, right? The 2/3 or 3/2, but people like 2/3 better.
2/3 is better because it survives like things like Cradle Crush, Firestorm, just little pings and stuff like that.
Or just creatures that have 2 attack.
It's like, for instance, when you think about it in a vacuum, um, Discerning Thief versus Corner Club Gambler, right? Corner Club Gambler is arguably a better card in terms of like draw ability because it's a summon. You get its effect from it surviving. It's a summon effect. The list kind of goes on there. It has more attack, so it's more geared towards
Reach.
aggro decks that run it.
Yeah.
But Discerning Thief survives Ice Storm, so
yep. Huge, absolutely huge against control blue decks. All right, so now we've got Guildsworn, and I'm running like a mid-range version with Prophecies and Unstoppable Rage, and
he's running like a standard
ways.
high skill. Like you'll see like the higher like skilled opponents like on the ladder. If they're running a Guildsworn, it's either like
You're in for a rough
dragons or mid-range with Rage usually. Those are the two main ones you'll see. Rarely you'll see Invade.
And so this would be your singleton then.
Yes, this is the singleton.
Eros, for our viewers who may be new to his stream, is probably one of the best modern singleton players, if not the best one. Obviously, we've got to give a shout out to Gumshoe, who kind of
dude,
paved
he's the
way
guy
for
that kind of like paved the way.
Absolutely, the forerunner of singleton decks, especially Telvanni.
I will say that like this is like my one of the coolest decks I think I've ever really made is probably this one here. Just because of the combo that it has, like that I kind of geared it to have like on Siege. It's not necessarily the one that I have published on Warlock's channel, but just a couple of cards kind of switched around a little bit. Kind of give it a bit more of like a Nyx Ox feel. So I have like Doppelganger in here and stuff like that. I have an Uprising in here. But for the most part, the combo off Siege is like Forces of Destruction with Mushroom Tower is just absolutely ridiculous. And if you have like
bonkers, the value alone.
If you have one lane that's pretty much like, if you have about 4 cards on the board, you can pretty much guarantee that you're gonna roll into Marquinaz. which is great, and then Swift Strike if you manage to hit them both, which is something that doesn't happen all the time, but if you manage to
Oh
hit
my
them
goodness.
both, then you go Swift Strike with Mushroom Tower up will make your creature hit 3 times. So if you're doubling the attack power of your creature and then it's swinging
And
three
then
times,
swinging multiple times. Yeah, it's over.
yeah,
I mean, it's a one-hit kill.
yeah, I've done some pretty ridiculous stuff. Like there was a game where I actually tailored my hand before I did the siege, and I ended up making it so that I basically replayed Marquinaz like 2 or 3 times, and I had Loneth at like fucking, she was doing like 200 damage, and I was like, oh, I could have even hit Swift Strike on that and did that, and it's like, oh, it's just so stupid. It was dumb. She ended up hitting for 224.
No way.
Yeah, and that was just one swing. Like I didn't use Swift Strike or I didn't
Obviously, yeah, 'cause
resummon the Marquinaz
your
anymore, but I
opponent
could have
is not
rebirthed
gonna
it.
have that much health. Yeah.
It was bananas. Everybody that was watching,
That's the
they were
kind of
they were like, I think that's cheating. That looks like cheating. I was like, no, it's not
Nope,
cheating. It
it's
was
just
just the right
it's high level.
the right comp or the right deck that I was playing at the right time, and they just didn't have the answer for what I was doing.
So obviously, for newer players, I wouldn't recommend just yet trying to, do a crazy combo singleton deck like that until you've kind of mastered the more basic, start with something like an aggro warrior, an aggro sorcerer, mid-range battle mage, something that's kind of easy to pilot and gets the basics down for you. But then, the better you get, the more you can kind of tinker and get creative and do a lot of fun stuff with all the different
There's
cards that are in this
so
game.
many cool combos to do in this game that you see nobody, like you don't see anybody run them on the ladder because, I mean, the ladder's not really a place for combos. Most people that are playing on the ladder, especially around the top,
Are trying to get wins, yeah.
yeah, they're playing to win. So you'll play against move decks and like decks that are just aiming to get you out there as fast as possible. So it's like, you don't really have a chance to do your combo. You can have it in your hand, and that's all well and good, but you never really get to play it. It's a certain level of frustrating, but I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of do it for those, 1 out of 3 games or whatever. But the thing about playing decks like that is that they're challenging, and you are forced to use cards in an efficient way and basically to make something out of nothing and create victories where there basically wouldn't have been a victory at all.
Snatching victory from the jaws of defeat.
So like this here is like, by rights, he's in a winning position. He has more tempo than I do at the moment, although arguable now because I have Brahmin down. But the thing is like, I went
That
Shadow.
Black
I knew I had to go
Distiller,
Shadow right away. I played Distiller, which is arguably a pretty busted card, to be honest with
Oh
you.
yeah, it's a huge swing card. I mean, momentum.
Yeah, well, gaining 3 mana for the turn is just ridiculous. It's like I don't have 6, I have 9, so I don't have Alfiq, I have Loneth that I can play.
And what did we already say happens when you have 9 Magicka as Stelvani?
It's Brahmin. Brahmin time.
There's an example of it. Alright, what do I want to do here?
What would really suck is if you had like, I don't know, spinner and something like a weapon. Would fucking
I
blow.
pride myself on having spinner as often as anybody, but I don't have it at the moment.
Do you run 3?
Probably not in this. I just want to not have to deal with you getting that extra Magicka anymore, so I decided to get rid of that distiller that you had on board.
I can smell your fear.
Bring off, I can smell your fear.
He's a great character from Skyrim. Honestly, that's what made me keep playing this game when I was brand new and terrible at it. I just liked the art and the characters from the actual Bethesda games and stuff so much, and the lore and the story of everything. Kept me around until I got decent at the game. One thing that I think people don't talk about as much with the Guildsworn is, yes, it has a lot of prophecies and it has rage and drain and stuff, but it has a lot of card draw too, like depending on how you build it. With your like Crusader's Assault, or if you run like Wilds Incarnate, or some people, if they're going like mid troll or control, they'll run that the yellow 3/4 that you get to draw cards if you have one in your graveyard or whatever.
Oh, Great Viper Brigand.
Yeah, and then some people go more aggressive when they want to break runes, and they'll put Crusader.
East March
or whatever
Crusader.
into it. Yep. There's lots of options for card draw with Guildstorm. We talked about the Discerning Thief also. I love, by the way, Zumog Fum so much. Like, one of my absolute favorite cards, one of the coolest cards.
He's a super cool card, man. I don't see anybody
My
really
opinion.
play him on the ladder.
It's unfortunate. Man. What do I want to do here? What are our options? Didn't like having to use my Ravenous Hunger without Drain early on, but it was my only play. It'd be nice if it had Drain right now. Now that my health is down to 17 and you've got...
I was kind of surprised to see you play that early on without like getting the proc for it.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was the only card I could play that turn. Sometimes that's what you just gotta do what you gotta do.
See, I find, like, I feel like that might be something like where we differ in opinion on that.
Philosophy?
Well, the way I look at it is like a card like Harpy, for instance. Even if it's the only card I can play, I almost never play Harpy from hand unless I shackle something.
That's smart, because it's a worthless card if you're not shackling something. I guess, I don't know how much I really thought about it, but the 4 damage I'm pushing each time he swings, when I know that I need to try to end the game before you start popping off with your
siege
mushroom
and stuff.
tower and all your craziness, so I can't just skip a turn in this matchup, probably. I definitely have done that before, like especially if I have ring, I sometimes will save a 2-drop if it doesn't help me and I'm playing first for the other person, because I feel like I can come back with having a ring, even if they play a creature first or whatever. I can play a bigger one for like an extra magicka or whatnot. But again, to anyone that's kind of newer to the game, I can't recommend enough just getting more playtime. The more you play, the more you will get a sense for what kind of decisions, when you make them, help you or end up costing you the game, and you can learn from it and get better. And earn one of these fancy card backs that we're rocking over here for finishing in the top 10 legends for a season. It's actually wild how long you've kept Brynjolf alive. I love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the only thing keeping me alive, so I gotta defend him.
Let's put a stop to that. Why don't we?
Okay. Hurting.
Abner Tharn is one of my very favorite cards also. You can, I mean, obviously, the whole point of him is you can use him in lots of different ways, and ways that your opponent will not expect you to kind of use their own cards against them sometimes, or to use one of their own cards a second
There's
time.
nothing better.
Normally...
I'll tell you this from, like, just personal experience. There's nothing better than using Abner on Alien Guardian when you're playing Nixox Assassin.
Oh my goodness.
And you have doppelgangers in hand, because your opponent's like, yeah, I got this Alien Guardian out, and then you're like, okay, well, I have 3 of them now, and
yeah.
It's like, you know, it almost feels like you just played experiments on fucking Alien Guardian. It's so funny, man. It's like just
But you
the
did
amount
it
of
without
disconnects.
running those greedier cards.
Yeah, the amount of disconnect. It's like, you know, this is the moment where they realize they fucked up.
That's another good term to maybe. How would you kind of define the term greed or greediness in?
I'm a bad person to ask for that, because, like, I don't know. I don't really have a good definition of it, and I've actually been kind of leaning toward more greed lately. Just because
maybe
of
I can take that one then.
The whole aspect of combo play in general is kind of greedy. So
yeah, but it's like responsible greed, I would say.
I will cut your purse.
Okay, I'll take that. I do agree with that.
There's a prophecy Prophecy Javelin, which our viewers, I should say, have probably seen a time or two. If you played this game for any length of time, you know the pain of breaking a rune and instantly losing a creature for free.
Yeah, especially when it's the
Anyways,
first one.
oh my goodness, don't even get me started. So, um, I kind of have come to think of greed as like, are you familiar with the term win more, obviously?
Yeah, like yeah.
So to me, one way of talking about greed would be like playing a card or running a card in your deck that's going to mostly be played in a situation where you've kind of already wrapped up the game or you already were going to win, and then you play it in order to do something kind of flashy or powerful, but that probably half the time or more isn't actually going to be what won you the game. You already had kind of won the game by that point because these cards are like very high cost Magicka cards that do crazy effects. And if you get to the point where you can even play them, like you've ramped up and you have all this Magicka and stuff, especially against like aggro, if they've already kind of petered out and are out of cards, like you already have won the game. You don't need to play Odahving to win the game, but obviously it's really fun to like wipe a whole board with Odahving or whatever. I don't know if that makes sense. How I'm
Odahving isn't a
talking
really
about
good
it.
example, but like some people will say that Wisp Mother is a win more card.
I can see that.
But I mean, it depends on how you use it, I think.
I'll teach you to
Right. Again, there's a responsible kind of like, way to use it. And then there's people who kind of fall in love with like the power trip, especially if you're in like the low ranks or playing against the computer, AI, whatever, and you get to do some crazy stuff. It feels good, right? I mean, it's like it's a power fantasy of like doing something really crazy or powerful and like feeling like you're, you know, I don't know, kind of like in control of the game or whatnot. Maybe that's where the term control comes from, or control decks or whatever. But a card is greedy, I would say, or like even a deck can be greedy if
It's
it,
when you're doing things that are like, far beyond what you really need. Like
in
when
order
you're
to win.
playing
Yeah.
when you're playing something like Parthenax and you're playing it with like the worst card in the game, Yagram's Workshop, you don't need six fucking shouts for zero fucking cost. Like I'm sorry, but like there's nothing about that that's fair, right?
Well, and some people will build into that for like a whole deck, make the whole deck about kind of abusing a mechanic or something like that. Oh, there's a cool little combo effect that we just witnessed.
Yeah, that's probably gonna
Yeah,
be me
another
losing.
Prophecy Javelin.
Oh yeah.
2 in one game is pretty rare. At least happening for me. It happens all the time against me, but all right. Let's just go ahead and end this.
Yeah, I was like, were you
That was
practical? Did you grab or Ancano or Bolt or what?
yeah. I like Laneth a lot. Some people might think that's a greedy card. I don't know. But especially in Guildsworn, there's some options that are really good for you to be able to grab where you can play, like we've talked about this before, but I mean that first video didn't end up getting released, so like specifically in Guildsworn, if you have Laneth, you can grab Defenses of Bruma potentially for 0 Magicka if you already have a 5 health creature on board
Even
and
if
you
you
have 9
grab it
Magicka.
and she's the only one that you have that's above 5, it's still a 2-drop,
It's
right?
still 2 cost, yeah. So if you have 11 Magicka, you can basically play that from hand for free, like, or for your Magicka that you have. And then the other one is going to be Tinkering, which if you have like 11 Magicka and you play Laneth and then another creature on board to sacrifice, you could potentially turn her
Oh
into like
man,
an
you can do
11
well.
cost.
Turn 10 is you have things like Manny Marco, uh, Marquinaz,
Yeah,
Manticora,
crazy powerful cards.
and then turn 11 is like if you're going into 11, you're aiming for like Colossus or Mirac usually. Devaith Fear is another good one you can hit. But
I mean, they're
yeah,
all
there are
really
some
good,
crazy,
obviously.
crazy, crazy turnarounds with Tinkering when you hit like the 9, 10, 11, 12 area
Yep.
that are just bananas. Like Tinkering on, like, if you have 2 Tinkerings in hand and you use it like on Ancano, it's like, okay, you tinker on Kano and you hit Euraxia. Euraxia steals their Altar of Despair. And then, you tinker off Euraxia into Manny Marco, and then Manny Marco steals, their Mirac from Grave. And then it's just, things
Or
get out
even
of hand.
Volcano or something, yeah, just out of crazy.
Yeah, the value you get from tinkering in general is crazy. And honestly, I'm not a huge, like, RNG guy. Like, I'm not super into the RNG. I know it sounds weird,
Me either.
but I try not to use wild RNG cards very often. But tinkering is like the exception because it's like, okay, you have to have a decent card on the board to use it. And you
Yep.
also have to, you have a very limited pool once you get a high enough. Like, for instance, 12 cost cards, there's only 5 of them in the game. So,
Yeah, so
you
you can
know, you
actually
can kind of
plan
mitigate
around
the
that.
RNG involved, I guess you can say, or at least it
Yes.
feels like you're more in control of what you're going into. So it's not like this crazy random, like you're not using Wabajack. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and the way we're talking about it, we have a specific plan in mind that we kind of included it in a deck for, like to use it with a card like Laneth or whatever. I mean, that's the only reason I really put it in there, but
It's just one of those holy shit like moment cards, or like, and another thing that's nice about tinkering is that it's very versatile. You can use it on your opponent's cards. So if they have like this, you know, trader that they have like beefed up, there's just ridiculous beefed up like Mournhold trader that's at like, you know, 15 attack because he's been moving around with fucking smuggler on board. Then you can just tinker it off and trade it. Like, you tinker it off into a 3 cost, and the 3 cost has no buffs. Or a gate that's been leveled up like a shitload, then you can tinker the gate off. And, you know, there's a lot of really good uses for tinkering that don't necessarily have to be on your own creatures. But the thing about that is you have to be careful when you're doing that, because the summon effects will still happen even if it's not your turn. So if, like, you tinker into, I don't know, say it's like you tinker a 7 into Onkano, like, you know, they still get to choose the 5 damage and, you know, deal the 5 damage even on your turn.
On your turn, yeah.
And you want to talk about killing
One last thing before we stop talking about something being greedy. I thought of another example. You can be greedy with like your mulligans, right? Or your lack of mulligans. Like if you normally want to start with a 2-3 cost card in hand.
Yeah.
If you choose to hold on to like a 7 or 8 or 9 cost card, that to me would potentially be greedy unless you happen to know the matchup and you have ring and you have other good cards also or whatever. But
it's funny because like I wasn't actually even. It's funny that you bring it up with this deck, because this is a deck, like the Crab Battle Mage is a deck that I always mulligan for 2 things, and I try to start with them in my hand every game. Doesn't matter what I'm against. Alfiq and Salties. And normally the way I have it curved out is that I have 17 2-drops in this deck. So if I don't have them in my first cards that I have in my hand, you can pretty much bet that I'm going to draw into, you know, at least something I can play on turn 1, right? There are only a few matchups where it's like, okay, you need to have something that you can play, or you're pretty much going to lose the game. Like if you're versus Move or Burn Assassin or any of those really nasty, like, you know, basically win on turn 4 decks.
Yep. Which I enjoy doing to greedy decks on the ladder, as people who have played against me know. You also just mentioned another term that I wanted us to talk about at some point, and that's kind of more of a deck building one. You talked about curve, and I think that'd be interesting for us to talk about a little bit from a deck building philosophical kind of standpoint, either now or on a subsequent podcast. But
so I think that we can.
We're talking about
curve. I'll touch on that here in a bit, actually, because I am going to build. I'm going to build a deck for the Gauntlet and take it onto the ladder and kind of show people like how it works and, you know, why it's a good deck and why I would play it in the Gauntlet type deal.
I would venture out on a limb and say, if I had to bet money, that you probably would go mono blue for this event.
You know, honestly, I'm probably gonna do mono blue, but I think I'm gonna do, each run is probably gonna be a different color.
Okay. That's cool.
And that's between my alt and this, and I'm probably gonna do, like, including neutral. So I'm gonna do 3 runs on the alt and 3 runs on my main, and all are gonna be with a different color. And I think that's gonna be pretty cool. It'll be interesting to see how it does too.
Yeah, you can compare how they do. I mean, I know it's completely random who you end up matching against and stuff.
Well, the big boogeyman in this gauntlet is going to be Yagram's Workshop, 100%. So
makes me want to
Goblins
flip.
are a pretty close second as far as like boogeyman decks go, but
Yeah, mono, yeah, for sure.
at the end of the day, Yagram's Workshop is the big bad of this gauntlet, and it sucks because you can have any color that you want, in a deck. Like you can run 49 neutrals and 1 blue, and it's going to show your opponent that you have a blue deck.
Yep.
So, like what
It's
do you
hard to
mulligan
prepare for
for?
that, yeah, until turn 1 or whatever. But
Yeah, so it's like, what do you mulligan for, right? Do you mulligan for mono blue like Alfiq, or do you mulligan for Yagram's Workshop mono blue Rebirth, whatever, with whatever the hell is going on with blue? Like I mean, I can see why you would choose blue for Glemmer with Alfiq and crabs and stuff, but like other than that, like Rebirth is the only other card that I could think of like you getting mad value out of as far as like the factotums go.
yeah, but you already have in neutral, you have Night to Remember, so
Yeah, so you're being greedy by at getting Rebirth as well.
I think so. I mean, I'm not gonna assume that everyone will be of the same opinion as us or would agree with everything that we say, but
They'll never get past us.
okay.
Well, I think it's scummy to run Yagram's Workshop in general. So
I would tend to agree with you,
I don't care if it's an event
unless you're not using it for that stupid combo with the Titan.
To be fair, the Yagram's Workshop is scariest with Dynamo.
Is also dumb with Mechanical Ally.
Yeah, but with Dynamo, it's the scariest card you can use with Yagram's Workshop, in my opinion, is Dynamo.
I can see that. I mean, just a ton of extra stats out of nowhere.
Well, that and like if you have, like you were just saying earlier, Night to Remember, for instance,
right?
You play Dynamo +8, and then if it's like turn 6, or if you're running blue with it, then you could even do it as early as turn 4, because you can have a 0-cost Night to Remember in your hand. So you're like, okay, now I have +16 stats on board for 4 mana.
Insane.
Like, what is that? Like, you know what I mean? That's just ridiculous.
No need
for that.
Yeah, I think whoever was kind of in charge of the playtesting when that card was released, I know it was toward the end of the game being developed, but like, oh no, look what he just used Abner for. And now, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. What a turn.
Yeah, that was a good turn.
Insane. Because even if I play my cheaper wilds now, I mean, I don't need the extra cards. I've lost the tempo that I
You won't even get the extra cards because I busted 2 runes on you.
Right. But again, even if I still could, I already have a ton of cards. I don't need more cards necessarily. Let's see here.
Abner in Crabs is definitely like an A-Ross original, I think. I don't think anybody else runs Abner in Crabs.
I think I do, just because if I'm ever running Alfiq, I always am gonna run Abner so that I can use him as another Alfiq conjurer to get another like big.
Did you have Abner in the deck that you sent me? I don't think you did.
I might have cut him, but I've definitely ran it in that before.
Well, let's see if we can find something useful.
In that deck? Yeah, I mean, 3 Alfiqs is probably enough without like a 4th or whatever, because I'm going for like a lower curve, more.
Yeah, your curve is like maxes at 6, right? So.
Yeah, and it's just 3. Actually, no, there's 3 supports. My goodness, another Fear Totem.
At one point, I did run 3 of them in here, but I only have the 2.
I thought I was in better shape with 2 big ward guards over there, but they both got dealt with. That is not good for me. Do I have a way to clear all this nonsense off the board? Is the question. Tribunal's not doing too well against you, but it has served me well on ladder, and I was able to beat K Fluffy's Empire with it. in the tournament.
I only actually saw Fluffy play Covenant in the tournament, but like I know
That was the one I banned.
I know his decks.
Smartly, I feel like.
His decks in general are very efficient, and he's a hard person to beat, just because every turn he plays something, and I've never seen him skip a turn for like combo purposes or anything like that. Like every time he plays a card, it's gaining tempo, and it's usually with a good purpose. So for that reason alone, he's a hard person to play against.
Indeed.
But his decks are also very well built. I mean, he has more #1 finishes in events than anybody else in the game. So, I mean, obviously he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Let's put these to use.
And he's actually a person that I talk to a lot.
Yeah.
I talk to him about pretty much every deck that I like that I think is competitively viable. I usually send it to him and be like, hey man, how do you like this? Like, check it out. And he'll usually be like, oh, this looks like, this looks really good, or this looks like, maybe it's in between two decks kind of deal. Because like I kind of do that where I like Franken deck two things together, like two concepts that I want to work. Like I don't know. Tempo Nyx Ox is a deck that I've made before, and it's actually good, but it's not like super high competitive. But if it draws right, it's almost impossible to beat. Like, and it only runs 4 spells, 2 of which are Manic Jack. Like, yeah. So
all
I mean, it's all creatures. It's basically like it plays around the Wisp Mother Soul Rest Marshal combo. Where like if you're ahead in HP, then Soul Rest Marshal makes the next card that you play cost 6 less, and Wisp Mother obviously being able to summon when you put a card down that costs 2 or less, so you can double things like Onkano, Nyx Ox. So you play like a Nyx Ox at 1 cost, and then it gets doubled, and then you end up gaining 10 mana, which is perfect for Giant Bat and Ring. So you can get out some really cool. Yeah, you can get out some really cool combos with that deck. Actually, it was very another crown jewel of my collection of weird things that I've created in the past. It's a fun deck. But the hard thing is being ahead.
2-1.
Yeah, so I'm stuck on Singleton now. So the only deck I can play is Singleton. So I guess you can kind of use that to your advantage, I guess.
We'll finally bring out the Dwemer Orc Crab Elfic Automaton deck, which I lovingly have called Automatons of Synergy.
Okay. As you guys can probably tell, Shadow is a father. Shadow is a father. He has dad jokes. Yeah.
I've seen other people make funny names for their decks too, though.
Oh yeah, man. There's a clip in the bunch of clips that I have on my channel here of people actually like just highlighting like stupid names that I have for my decks. Like one of them was like Ronald McMove Goth for like a Move Dagoth deck that I made.
Very nice.
And there's stupid shit like that, Makes me laugh when I look at it, and it kind of gets to the point of like what the deck is, so it works for me. Like, but Brian is the king of those names, though.
I agree.
Brian is like,
in fact,
he's got
I've shown
a
him
bunch
some
of good
of mine
ones.
before just to see if he approved. That's how much he is the king of well-named decks.
Nobody breaks
I think my favorite one from him was he had a Mammoth deck. It was like a Mammoth breakthrough sorcerer deck. I think that it was. I think it was a sorcerer. Anyway, it played on having like a bunch of mammoths with breakthrough, and he called it Stamp Collection. I thought that was pretty fucking clever.
Very nice.
But yeah, no, that's definitely something that I think we've brought up, like just like between the guys, like in the clan, in general. Yeah. It's like fucking Brian always has the fucking perfect name for his decks. Always.
See if we can find something useful.
I mean, if you're not making a clever or funny name for your deck, really, what are you doing with your life? I mean,
you could be like me and have like a fucking bajillion like House Telvanni 5 and like New Deck 3 and like
just generic, vanilla, basic stuff.
Yeah, it's bad. Like I don't know. I just need to get better at housekeeping as far as like keeping things.
Well, yeah, you probably have a lot more decks than most people total. So.
Well, I end up deleting like 10 decks a day to build like new decks every day, and I still max out. It's just stupid, like, you know, but I get like an idea sometimes. It's like even just a simple synergy, and it's like, oh, I can build a deck around that, and I'll build a deck around that and see if it works and see
I
how
didn't
fun
even
it
know
is.
there was a max number of decks that you could have at one time, to be honest. And I've been playing this game forever, so that's kind of sad. But
Seriously, you didn't know that
my
it was
sweet spot is I keep anywhere from like,
Let's
I don't know,
put these
4 or
genes.
5 decks to maybe like the most I've ever had at one time, probably like 15 or 20. I don't know how many the
Oh
max
wow.
is, but
Well, even Fluffy's been like, he's got a bunch on like a Word document. Um,
oh, just the codes and stuff.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, he'll keep like, you know, a couple of decks around that he will use like consistently. But like, I don't know. For me, it's like I just don't bother to delete them. I delete them when I have to, kind of deal. You know what I mean? And usually it's like something near the bottom, but they're all
Sure.
random, so it doesn't really matter, kind of deal. Sometimes I end up deleting one that I probably shouldn't have, and it's like, oh, that was actually a good one, and I'm gonna have to remake it. But the thing that about that is like I make them so often that it doesn't bother me if I really delete them because you know I pretty much know
It's
the
still in your
deck.
head, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't outsource my decks, so it's not like I have to get somebody else to like come in and build the fucking deck for me. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm very fortunate that way.
Let's put these genes.
Yeah, I
Kinda
can't
like when I
remember
had
the
that
last
whole, like-
time. I mean, people will send me decks all the time, sometimes to get my opinion, but just for me to like, maybe they think I would want to play it or whatever. But it's been forever since I've played anything other than just something that I've built myself or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with playing other people's decks. Like, it's a great way to learn how to build good decks, especially if you're playing something from someone who's a good player. But
Especially if you're just
once you
starting
hit,
off too. Like it's nice
sure,
to even just to have the code to be like, okay, this is how this deck curves out, and like this is how he built it. Like I know there was one player I saw on Reddit. He was like, I have an old deck from a really good player way back in the day, and the mana curve that they use for that deck is the template that I use for all of my decks. And it's like, you know, that's hey, if that works for you, then more power to you, right?
yeah, everyone's different, right? We've all got our own ways of doing things. Whatever works for you. I mean, whatever your kind of style is. Like, some people like aggro decks, some people like mid range, some people like control, some people like only playing decks that are like gonna actually do well. Some people like trying to do
Some
well with
people like
decks that
playing
aren't
only one
really
deck
meta.
ever and only that deck, and it doesn't
Oh my
matter
goodness!
what that deck is. It has to be
Don't
that
get me
deck.
started. And it's usually like Telvanni control or goblins or invade or
Goblins. Usually goblins.
I swear, dude.
Let's put
That's
these
okay. Those
genes.
people are human beings and they are valid members
The
of the Legends community.
Yes, the thing
That's my
is though, I like to try to emphasize this when I talk about people like that because I don't necessarily talk about them in the best way. It's like, oh, they only use this deck. It's like at the end of the day, not everybody has to play the game the way I play the game.
Right.
At the end of the day, I'm happy that they're playing so that we have people to play against and the game has a community
Of
at all.
course. And I mean, when you play one deck, you're definitely gonna master it, theoretically.
The only
Maybe some of them
exception
actually
is
don't, but
Yagram's Workshop.
well, I think we can all agree about that for the most part.
Like if that's the only deck that you play, and yeah, no, play a
We're
different
not gonna
fucking
get
deck.
along.
Play a different fucking deck, guys. I'm sorry. Like, you know, Yagram's Workshop isn't
It
really
is
a
what
deck.
it is. Oh, it's a deck. It's just a really cancerous, toxic,
It,
overpowered deck.
it's like somebody was like, oh yeah, the combo. I'm like, no. Yagram, like fucking Yagram and Titan is not a combo. I'm sorry. Nixox is a combo. Like you're making combo decks look bad by calling that a combo. It's a broken mechanic, is what it is.
Well, and I mean, if you want to, try it out a couple times and, get that rush, that dopamine hit from, killing someone when they had like 35 health and you had like 5 or something, then sure, but then don't keep playing it like 50 billion times over the next 6 years.
Yeah, there are a couple of people on ladder that won't like literally like they only play Yagram's Workshop, and it's like, guys, how does this not get boring for you? Like, neutral is fun to play because, well, you know, if you like swarming the board and stuff like that, then yeah, sure, neutral, good stuff. But at the end of the day, like, there's not really that many interesting neutral synergies to play on. You know, like the cards are pretty basic.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
and this is
That's
rough.
why I haven't ever really been into like just only neutral. I always try to add some other colors to kind of like do something that's just a little different. And again, I think more people went the warrior route for whatever reason, so I decided to go the battle mage route. Since I'm a big fan of battle mage, as I know you are as well.
Yeah, battle mage is like a deck that I've made so many different battle mages. It's like hard for me to kind of say how many in particular. Obviously, not all of them are viable, and not all of them I would like. Hey, you should try this deck out because it's a cool deck. Like the Path Mage Wisp Mother weird shit that I made the other day.
Oh,
That I was
yeah.
like, hey, some decks I make for me, and everybody is like different when they build a deck. It's like, okay, I'm building this deck because I want it to do well, and I'm proud of it, and I'll share it with other people.
Yep.
Some people are building a deck because they're like, this is a cool combo that I play, and I like the synergy, and I'm only going to be the only one that needs to like this deck is me, and that's also fine.
Yeah, they're both valid.
Unless it's Yagram's Workshop.
Which is never valid.
Yeah, no. The thing is, it's like I used to be like hardcore against invade of all kinds. It doesn't matter what invade. It doesn't matter.
Oh my goodness.
The whole thing about invade is like stupid and RNG sucks and all this stuff. And it's like, recently I've been playing invade cards in other decks, and even like some like pseudo like half invade kind of decks that are, they're hit and
I
miss.
have
They're
no
not very
problem with
good.
that. In fact, I wish people would have gone that route with it instead of the same exact guild sworn, invasion party trying to get a bunch of Dagoth Urs on board because.
And that's the thing is like I don't run invasion
than
party in any of my invade decks that I have. Which is funny because that's the card that people hate the most, but it's not the most busted invade card. The most busted invade card is 100% fucking unexpected arrival.
Did the audio just cut out or something?
No, it's just my door. I don't know what it is. I have to fix my front door, I guess. It just blew open. So I had to go close it.
No problem. I'm glad I can hear you again. Yeah,
Yeah, but-
I mean, Invasion Party is strong, but if you have Execute or any kind of removal at all, it instantly gets deleted, even though the gate is bigger. But if you don't have an answer, it can kind of snowball, obviously.
Well, decks that suffer against invade are like the decks that I like to play, like mid-range, like nice mid-range decks that
Same here.
normally don't pack an answer for the gate until like turn like 6 or 7, which is like Belly G or something. For the most part,
by then, I mean, you either already won or lost against invade. I mean, it's been decided
rough
already by then. So this is our final match of our little mini tournament match here.
Yeah.
We've got my
Hopefully I kill you with a wicked siege combo. That's my goal for this game.
I wouldn't be mad if you did, because then people would get to, if they're watching, would get to see a cool siege combo, which is always fun. Thanks to any viewers, by the way, for bearing with my voice, which I have a sore throat. In subsequent episodes, you'll get to hear the dulcet tones of my baritone in a much better state than it is right now. Astrid. Astrid, what are you doing in the field lane with your poison dagger over there? Get out of here.
Time to die.
Your coin or your life. Choose.
Astrid is a pretty good card if you can get it to pop off and get a bunch of contracts. Like,
it really shines in like decks like Ebenheart.
Or even Archer.
Archer, yeah. Although normally people don't build decks around lethal anymore. For Archer anyway.
Back in the day, they used to.
Well, that's the thing. Like Archer Factotum's lethal is actually a fun deck.
Oh yeah.
It's a fun deck, and it's not something that you see very often anymore. Like, there's like one guy I think that I've seen run it in like the last couple months, and he's actually
lost someone on it recently.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking good with the deck.
Yep, it must have been the same guy or girl.
But it's always sad when you see a cool deck, and then obviously like when you're dealing with cool decks, especially in neutral, there's always that like, oh, do they run workshop? Because like it kind of kills the vibe. And then
So if there's one takeaway for our viewers from this first episode, I think we have to settle on the moral of the story being don't run Yagram's Workshop, everybody.
Yeah, don't play that card.
The void awaits you.
Just in general, don't play the card. And like, yes, I understand it wins. That's kind of like what it was designed to do, but it was designed to win at the peril of fair play.
Well, not only that, but I mean, how many people out there would rather only be able to win by using a broken card instead of like keep improving as a player to the point where they can win with lots of different kinds of decks and get to the point where you're good enough to make something you want to make and still win with it. I feel like that should be a higher goal for people than just winning at any cost, no matter if they have to sell their soul to do it or whatever. But that's just me. I mean,
I think it depends on the person that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
I mean,
it
don't get me
usually
wrong.
does.
Back when I was not the same Shadow that I am now, I would have given anything, my soul, my dignity, in order to be one of the best players, in order to be one of the best players in this game and to get that top 10 card back when they released it. And that motivated me to play way too much of this game, if I'm being frankly honest, and eventually get good. But most people that have played against me or know who I am in the game anyways, if not in real life, know that I didn't achieve anything I've done in this game by abusing broken mechanics, for the most part anyways. But
no, he just likes his smork, fucking super early wins.
Hit face. Face is the place, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, chances are if you ever lost to a deck, not from me, from anyone on ladder that is running a bunch of battle mage cards that do direct damage to face, that you have me to thank for that, and I apologize profusely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. That was my bad. I wasn't really thinking ahead when I did that one. Oh, that's funny.
I think it was releasing it on Reddit and stuff, and then also doing a feature on it with you guys for the Facebook or whatever.
Yeah. And then it's on Warlock's channel too. So it's everywhere. The deck is everywhere.
One of my favorite I've arrived in the community moments of all time was seeing Iene stream that deck after I finished #1 with it in June of 2021 or whenever it was. 2000. I don't even remember what year it was, but
I think it was 2020. Well, it might have been 2021 though. Actually, I think you're right.
Someone was like, "Dude, Iene's streaming your deck," and I went to Twitch and it was like the thumbnail or the title or whatever you call it is like playing Shadow deck #1 last season or playing good deck from Shadow or something like that in his kind of half.
Oh, you're talking about Iene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Russian streamer extraordinaire.
That's actually funny that you mentioned Iene. Fucking one of the cool moments, I guess, for me was like when he was like,
him, by the way,
he was like, do you have a good battle mage deck? He's like, I know you have a good battle mage deck. I was like, yeah, this is like my best one, and I gave it to him, and then he played it, and he probably changed a couple of things around, but then Nocturnal was like, hey man, I was watching Iene's stream the other day. He said this like a year later, like after I gave him the deck. He's like, I was watching Iene's stream the other day, and he's like, he kept your battle mage, eh? He's like, that's like an accomplishment. I was like, hey, that's actually pretty cool. I was like, that's pretty wicked, actually. Like thanks for telling me.
I'll teach.
I mean, we've talked about Ross Pierre Dole before, another OG player to shout out to.
Yeah, the other Ross.
But when I was brand new in AZZ, he was spectating me one time when I was playing Goblins when like me and Najaro were kind of like talking about how that deck was good all of a sudden when they released that one expansion that had the three-feathered war chief and like the chef and those different cards. Not skirmisher, but when it became like scout, with the one
three-feathered chief is like one of those cards that literally it's the reason Scout Goblins is good.
You must be.
among other cards, but yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of synergy in that deck that's really strong. But anyways, it was kind of when that deck was people were starting to realize like, oh my goodness, this deck went from being good to like unstoppable all of a sudden, with a couple cards being added from the expansion or whatever. And Ross Pierre was like spectating me and asking me questions about my Goblin deck or whatever. And I was like, dude, like I'm the newest like AZZ player, like I'm nobody, I'm not any good. You are like
You're
number
the
one
man,
ladder
dude.
player.
You're the fucking man.
You finished with 2 accounts in the top 10 in the same season, bro. Like, you don't need to ask me questions about
Yeah,
my
that's a
deck.
grind and a half, man.
It's like 3.5 grinds.
Yeah, and this is like back when everybody was playing too. Like this is back when like
Yeah, all the
Flo
OG
and like
good
old
players, dude.
Folder and
Yeah.
fucking like all the old guys were playing.
Hack Me, Karakonzul.
Yeah, no, it was like peak TESL time.
Fierce Infinity was playing back then. I mean, so many just crazy good players back then.
He came back for a while last year, right?
I know, he's streaming like Tribunal or something. Or at least playing it, if not streaming, I don't know. And Ring of Mentoring is such a crazy card sometimes.
I really hope you don't have another mute.
Wouldn't that be great if I did?
I mean, objectively for you, yeah, sure.
Not for
Zoot! Speak, citizen.
you. This is the part of the game where the person that has less health and more cards will either stabilize and be able to come back, or the person who has been the aggressor will be able to finish off the game and get the W.
The George W.
The George W. Bush.
Okay, so you have 8 on board right now.
I mean, we could pretend like I only have 5 so that you don't deal with my threats.
Yeah, no. You have 8 on board.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's not like 1 or 2?
You
may not be good at math.
It's rough because I only have one thing I can really do if I want to survive.
I'm assuming you do want to survive.
Yeah, but it's rough because I don't want to do it at this particular cost, but I guess we'll have to...
Try something. You won't live to regret. This one won.
So there's an example of like if I had played Golden Initiate in the field lane, you could have removed it and still drained and kept your creature alive.
No, most
Because
importantly, I wouldn't have
had
given you an extra card.
That as well.
Like,
Although,
I find that...
giving me an extra card also gave you an extra card. Not that it will make a difference probably, but...
Ita Orion. Careful there, friend.
I mean, I give you kudos and props for bringing Singleton to a tournament.
This deck has beaten a lot of people in tournaments that you would not expect.
I know. It's a fantastic deck if you build it right.
Fucking
more powerful than people realize, but most people would be hesitant or like, you know, not as confident in it as you are, is I guess what I'm trying to get at. So.
Oh yeah, well I'm also a little crazy, so it definitely doesn't hurt.
Hey, you said it. You said it, not me. Hey, where'd you get that piercing javelin and Telvanni colors?
Okay, what do I not want you to have? I mean,
This
you
guy
probably
must be
have it in
cheating. He
hand.
just played... What do you think I have in hand?
It's probably some kind of silence or removal.
I never run silence. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay, here comes Shadowfen Priest. Yeah, yeah, it's fucking Shadowfen Priest too, isn't it?
It's not. I only run 2, I believe.
Eton.
I wish it was Shadowfern Priest. I wonder if I have the like highest average number of silence cards per deck that I make out of anyone or not. I'm so traumatized from when I didn't used to be able to beat control decks that ran a lot of like drain and guards and stuff. So I just run a ton of silence in any aggro deck I make. Except Assassin because, you know, they don't have red or purple.
Da da dee da. No, that's not right.
Yeah, it's so rough. I can't do anything. I needed one more turn to get Alien Guardian out.
That's a scary card.
Victory.
It's the only deck I run it in. It's another card that I don't particularly agree with.
Honestly, I haven't seen that very much in a long time, and I haven't lost to it in a long time. But yeah, I mean, it's
You
a
don't
strong
play
card
enough.
for sure. Hey, since making this account when I came back after a long break,
Yeah, you still don't play enough.
where does it show my,
I can check for you.
why can't I check for myself? Is
Oh,
it
you
different on
can.
PC than on mobile?
You have 1,649 ladder wins.
That's a fair amount for since I came back, you know, however many months ago, 5 or 6 months ago.
That's not so bad.
I used to have a lot more on my last account. Alethea Gods, who has it now, has 20,740 wins. Most of which were from me, I want to say. Well, anything else you wanted to touch on before I call it a night and rest my my tired voice, my sick voice?
If you are gonna call it, if you're gonna call it a night, then I think that's good. We'll leave it at that. Basically, I think that's a
at
good.
least pretty, at least
That's a
pretty
good. No, that's a
smoothly.
good.
Not
That's a
right
good
now.
first episode. I think we finished the tournament games. We talked
The
about some stuff.
the audio worked.
Yeah, the
Hopefully.
audio should be fine.
And it's going to be the first of many, so I mean, we've got other topics that we've talked about talking about or that I've written down, but I mean, if anyone, you know, is tuning in live or watching these things, I would say feel free to submit any questions you guys have for us and we can do
Yeah,
our
no,
level
absolutely.
best
If you
to
guys want to
answer.
see like a topic talked about, or like maybe you have a cool deck that you want us to like showcase or like talk about,
Yeah,
or anything like that,
or a certain matchup of decks you want us to like play or whatever against each other, or I've been
anyway,
having fun doing this.
if that's gonna be it for you, then get some rest, man. I know you just got off work and all that stuff too, so
Appreciate that. I will try to come back next week with a stronger voice and ready to rock. But
yeah, man.
thanks for doing this, Andy. It's been a lot of fun. I look
Yeah,
forward
dude.
to next week, and to all your viewers and stuff. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Well, have a good one, buddy.
Later, bro.
All right. So I'm just gonna end this recording here, and I'm basically just gonna rebroadcast just so it saves.